wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on.
Sleep till I come home. Dream of something sweet. I won't be there soon to wake you so discreet.
One. Okay, I see 24 students right now. Okay, so well, hi everyone, how are you all? So welcome to day 3 of the JavaScript Essentials Bootcamp. Right, so we'll start this in just 1 or 2 minutes. I'm just waiting for a few students to join. We have what 25 students right now, 26 now. Right, so meanwhile, right, we can get started. Hey, hi, good evening, Akash, Utpal, Vector, Rajesh, Soradeep, Akash, one more Akash we have, Kullu, Madhu, and all of those who are in the chat. So I'm just looking into chats here. Yes, we will go basics to pro. So we are still on the basics part, right, to understand a few things here and there, right? So just okay. So I hope my voice should be clear now. Okay, just a minute, I'm just adjusting my mic. Okay, I hope it is clear. Just a minute. Yeah, good evening. Yep, we can start. Right, so let's get started with the initial setup. So I was just revising for the session, so I can just go and close this. All of this, just give me a minute. And transition back to open this, which is going to be a browser for output. And let's move on to this. Let's close this and RVS code. So has everyone, revised what we saw here, what we have learned in the past 2 days? Has everyone revised? For all those students who are new, have you all guys revised any lectures till now? And if where I will get the recording, so you can just view the recordings. Just go into the link in the description, okay, and you will find the recordings there. Basically the link where you can go and enroll. First thing you have to go is enroll, and in that you will find the whole series, or you can just move back to the playlist day 2 on day 1, and then you can follow us along, right? So just it is a request for all those, you might still understand this. I'll try to make it as easy as possible, but still I suggest you to go and start from the fresh, you can say the basics again, right? So let's start off, and where we left off yesterday was functions. So I'm just going to open functions here, and we yesterday saw, right, how to declare a functions. And as I mentioned, there are 2 ways of declaring a function. I hope my screen is visible. Okay, let me just zoom in and just make it like this, so we can put it side by side. Let me just go. I'm continuing in day 2 for now, so that we can just complete the things which we left off yesterday. Yes, that is what we saw yesterday. That is the first way to declare the functions. That is a function declaration. The syntax, as Attitude Boy is saying, that it is function, the function name, and the brackets where we write the function, right? So now there is one more way of declaring function. Okay, there is one more way of declaring a function, which is called as a function expression. Okay, so now see how we write the function. So how we declare, when I say declare, right, you declare, how do you declare variables, is like this. Okay, so let's say, so this is how you declare a variable, right? So you can also declare a function like this, and that is basically a function expression. So you write the variable name which is going to contain your function, and then what you can do is just go and write the function name like this. Now currently, if I didn't have this function, right, suppose I am just going and okay, okay, I'm just going to say by, this is my function name, and this is my function, you can say, and this is how I can just go and declare a function. Okay, here I can just write console dot log, and in this I can just go and say boss, let me just see if I have done some error. I think I have done an error. I have a doubt I have done an error. Nope. Can anybody point out the error? I have made an error. I hope so. I have made an error. Anybody in the chat who can help me out with this? Anybody in the chat who can help me out with this? No one? Let var const, yes, we will cover after, as I said, right? After just the functions are over, we will cover let var and const. Have I done an error here? We have declared the function, right? Why it is giving me an error then? This is correct. Let's see by. No, why it is giving? Oh yeah, sorry. I cannot write this. I have to write a function. Okay, so now it works. So how we were declaring function is the function keyword first, then the function name and the block, right? Here in function expression you can give that this say by is going to be the name of the function in which I have to store this function which says goodbye. And the way of calling this function is just go and you can just go and write the similar way. You can just write say by and just call it with the parenthesis, and this should basically go and call your function. Let's go and see here. Function statement require a function name 21. Okay, I just removed it from here, so this should go here. Okay, you see, right? Now this my function is called. These are the two ways. Now there is one more way, which is the fat arrow notation, which we will cover in a bit. Now first let's go and understand the difference between let, const and var. Okay, let's go and so does anyone know here what is the difference between let and var? Okay, see, the main thing is, now I guess this is done, we can just create another file as per our day, right? First, meanwhile you can just write in the chat if you know the difference between let and var. Const is very easy. I need the difference between let and var. If you guys know, meanwhile I just do the setup. Okay, anyone? Let is more elder to var. Okay, that's not a difference. So I need a difference of what is the difference between the let and var. Var is global scope and let is block scope. Okay, it is half correct. It is half correct. It's not fully correct. Var is, now you can't say it is global scope directly. Multiple time declaration and initializations. Let can't ridiculous. Let means to do suppose. No, let are the only variable available inside a block where they are defined. Okay, that is correct. Var is functional scope. Let is block scope. Yes, so that is the correct answer. So let's understand the difference between let and var now. So everyone just focus here. Okay. Var, let and const. Okay, so I don't need this anymore and need to stop this and go live with this. Just give me a minute, it is just loading. console. Okay, so there are few people who know the difference, so let's go and understand what is the difference, the main difference. Now suppose you have a variable. Okay, now you have to understand what is the meaning of scope. Scope basically means where your variable is declared and what all things it can access, the scope of access. Okay, so now there are two scopes. First is a global scope, basically means the whole JavaScript file which you have written, or you can say the whole of your application. Second is a block, and the block of code is usually defined like this. This basically means a block of code. Okay, I hope you guys are clear. This basically whatever you write inside this, right, you can say that this is the block. Okay, so to understand let and var, so we'll create a basic, you can say, suppose I want to just go and initialize a variable. Okay, what are the ways I can initialize a variable? Suppose my website is something which is kind of a blog, and on login it is going to display the name of the user. So using var is, because we have not used var, I'm just telling var is also a way of initializing variables, right? So what I'm going to do is var username equals to Prasad. Sorry. Okay, this is going to, suppose this is like the default, you can say the method, default value of the user when my blog is, you can say, opened. This is what it is going to be, and let me just write it here. So this is console.log. We are just considering that is an example of a blog, and here it is just going to print username. Okay, so now let's see if I am going and login in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, if I have to say that if the user is logged in, and suppose I am the user, I want to change the username to Prasad. Okay, I want to change the username to Prasad. Now if I go and write, if I go here and just print this. Okay, just let me, okay, for a moment let me just remove this. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go and take this and print it above this. Let's ignore the if statement for a bit. So there are a few concepts before that I'll teach you. Message port. Just a minute. What I'm going to do is, first let's go and just initialize this, and right here. So I'm just going to teach you a concept called as hoisting, which is done in var. So then I'll go and teach you the difference between var and let. So first we have just declared. I have not initialized, I have not given it value, and then I'll initialize the value right here. Username equals to Prasad. Now let's see the let's see what happens. Just a minute. Okay, so now here I don't know why it is not working. Basically what happens is, this value gets assigned here because of the concept of hoisting, and then it is printed. I don't know why it is not happening in the chat. We can reassign, but let cannot declare. That is correct, but I don't know why the hoisting, you can say, concept is not working right here. I'm just trying to understand that. It is giving me undefined. That is something. Thanks. So I'm just, can anyone help me figure out what is happening here? I will teach you something. I don't know what, this is weird. Maybe my use practice on something is wrong with the editor. But by default what happens is, just to tell you, right, Even if you declare it later, it is going to go and print it above. So let me just do this. I'll try doing this. This is again weird. I'll just keep it right here. I'll come to this just to debug what is happening. I gave the value username, right? I'm just trying to see the difference of hoisting, nothing else. Okay, so let's go back to the original example. Currently if I have a, you can say a var, I'll come to the concept of hoisting. Hoisting means nothing, the variables are moved on the top. So even if you have declared, if you have given the value later or declared it later, it will again go on top. Okay, so even probably, right, this should work. Just a minute, I'm trying to figure out what is happening here. Okay, so if I move this right here, it is not hoisting the variable. That is weird. And okay, let's keep it aside. Need to fix it. Let's move on. I'll come back to maybe tomorrow. I just need to fix what is not, because if you go an online editor and if you try this, right, it will work. It will actually hoist the variable. Don't know why in my editor it's not working. So let username equals to user, and what I want to do is, if suppose the logged in value is equals to true, what I want to do is I want to change the username to Prasad. Currently I will put the logged in value to be false. Okay, now see what is happening. Okay, now see what is happening. If I do console.log, right, if I do console.log here and just print the username, you see, right, it has still changed the variable. It has still changed the variable. Var, basically what you do, right, if when you declare the var again, this is basically how you declare it. When you declare the var again, right, what it does is it goes and changes the variable outside the scope. Okay, so by default, if I have to write here, right, if I have to write here the things about var, let me just, so when we go to the let, you can say you will understand it better, the difference. Now you might not be understanding it that much. So var, first of all, var is of function scope. Okay, so now you might be having the question, boss, where is the function here? So by default, anything that is out here, in this open space is a part of a function, a bigger function or an object called as a window. Okay, by default, whatever is out here, it is called as it basically is a part of a window. Maybe you're printing variable first, assigning. See, undefined is okay, but it should actually go and give you the value. That is what I'm saying. Just to check what happened here and get back to you again. Okay, so now see, even if the condition is being not matched, right, it is going and changing the value. Okay, so now let's do one thing, and instead of in the place of let, this is a block scope. This is of block scope. What block scope basically means is, if I go and change this example with let, first of all, if I go and change this example with let and make this also let, now see what is happening. It is user. Okay, it is user, because what happened is it first initialized the variable with the value of user, then it checked this, you can say, the condition, and then it went on. And yeah, let's do one more thing. I'll write console.log here just to show you what happens, what is the magic, and I'll console this here also. Right, now see this, now watch this very carefully. How, let's understand the execution. It went and initialized the variable with username with the value of user. It checked, currently it is false, right? It went on checked, is it true? It is not true, so it is not going to go inside, of course. Now let's make it by default true, so you don't need this, or I can just make it true. Let's make this true, and if it is true, right, it is going and changing the user, basically initializing the username with the value of Prasad, console.logging it, but it is not going to change this value. It is not going to change this value. It is going to stay right here in that scope. And then whatever is outside of this block, right, this username is not disturbed. Now let's go and again go to the previous example of var. Okay. Now see, it has changed both the values. Now one more difference which you guys need to understand is I can do like this: var a equals to 1, var a equals to 2, and it will not give me an error. I can redeclare variables with a var, but in the case of let, I cannot redeclare the variables. If I redeclare once, I can just change the values. I cannot do this. Okay, this is not allowed in let. It is going to give me an error that you cannot redeclare a variable. I hope this is clear. See, identify B has been already declared. That is one more difference. You cannot redeclare a let variable. You can just change the value, whereas in var, you can go and redeclare the same variable again. Now, if I said this, right, then what happened in this case? If I'm making this let, and I'm also changing this to let, why it is allowing me to redeclare the variable? This is what you have to understand in terms of let, that here what is happening here is the variable here is getting declared, it is being printed to console, and here after this statement the variable is removed, deleted basically. It is out of the memory. So after this statement there is not there is the variable with the name of username does not exist, and that's the reason it is not. So this username and this username is different in terms of let, whereas in var it is just going to access the, you can say, the global variable. That is the basic difference. Okay, so now let's introduce something called as function in this example. So what we'll do is I'll just go and this much is clear. Is this much clear? Let me know if this much is clear. Everyone in the chat? I hope this much is clear to you guys. Okay, so now let's go and have a function right here. I'll just go and remove this. Once you will practice, right, see where, and yes, this let was introduced in 2015 just because of these issues, right? When you code a lot of things and you want variables to be just valid till that different, you can say one particular block, and not change everything in the global scope, right, or in the function scope. That was the reason let was introduced in 2015. So let and const as concepts were introduced in 2015. Okay, where basically will change anything if you have given outside the you can say block, right? That is a function scope, not block scope. Now you know, right, how to write function. So we'll write function greet, because we have used this earlier. And what I'm going to write here is var say hi equal to hello. Okay, let's do this, and let's go and console this outside first and see what happens. Console.log. say hi. And I'm going to have the same function, same variable right here with a var of say hi is equal to hey user. Let's see what is being printed. Now you see, right, now it is not going and changing this variable. Now if I just go and write right here console.log say hi, okay, now let me just go and call this function greet and see what happened. My OBS disconnected. Just a minute, guys. Okay, I guess we are fine now. Okay, so the scope of this var is just still here, from this block to this block, and so that's the reason it is not going and affecting this. Okay, so when I'm calling this function, right, it is just calling this var and it is not going and updating this hi here. Whereas whatever is outside this, right, it is just going to print this outer variable. So when you see, right, whenever I'm selecting this, it is going to mostly target this, you can say this element. I hope the function and block scope is understandable to you. Now when we say global scope, right, when you say that, when you write var outside a block, so when you say, right, when you write outside this, it goes into global scope, because as I mentioned, by default everything is a part of a window object, right? So when you write window, right, everything is a part of a window object. So your document, which is the HTML page you load, all of those things are part of a window object, which we'll study in a bit, right? So that is the difference between let and var. We are going to use let. Now let's understand one more thing, the difference between when to use let and when to use const. Okay, so now const has a few things which you need to understand. That is, const basically means constants. Const basically means constants. Okay, and whatever you store in const, right, constants, you cannot change the value again. You cannot reassign the value again. Okay, suppose if you have a constant, suppose const of const of car name, just an example, I am writing Honda. Okay, and I just go and console.log this Honda, sorry, car name. You see, right, currently it has been printed. Now if I go and try to reassign anything to it, if I am saying that now please change the car name to Mercedes, okay, now you will see a error that you cannot assignment to a constant variable. Constant basically means that it has to have the value fixed. You cannot change the value, you cannot reassign a new value to that variable. You cannot reassign the new value to that variable which is const. Okay, so in case of let and var, we are going to stick to let, and const when we are going to use where we have values which are not going to change. But here also there is one more thing which I need to tell you. What if we have some objects? Okay, suppose we have a user object which basically has two things, name, sorry, username, which basically is Prasad, and a city which basically is Mumbai, right? So see, I have declared it with const. Okay, and I'll just do console.log of user object, right? I need to just go and remove this to stop the error. Okay, now I have my object right here. Now if see, I can go and change that one particular key of that object. So I can do user object dot username, and I can set this to something called as Rocky, who is in the chat. Okay, I can do this. This is allowed in const. You see, right? It is still working. So I'm not disturbing this value. What I cannot do is I cannot assign a whole, you can say I cannot assign new things to that variable. I can change the contents of that variable in case of objects. I cannot reassign a new object to that constant. Okay, so if I were to suppose, if I just take and if I had to, you know, if I had to do user object equals assignment. Okay, I'm talking about assignment, and now I had to just change it again, and now I'm going to get the same error that I am trying to reassign to a constant variable. Right? So this is basically a difference of let, var and const. Let is block scope, var is a function scope. Okay, so and the hosting part I'll show you. I need to check if it works in online later, but this should work. So now let's go on to something, what all things were left. Functions we were doing, and yes, loops, because today's is loops, right? So okay, my video is stuck again. Nope. So script src loops.js. Okay, so I'm just going to go and stop this. I hope it is clear till now. Whatever I've seen, I've just seen the difference, nothing else. The main thing starts now. Yes, you can write recursive functions with that I'm not going to teach right now. You can write recursive functions which keeps on calling it again and again. Clear, guys, till here? Just let me know if that is clear, so we can just move ahead. Everyone in the chat, quickly. Right, so how many types of loops do we have in JavaScript? A quick question in the chat, how many type of loops do we have in JavaScript? So let me just write console. So see, this is the last, you can say, concept where you will get bored maybe. After this, it is all about interacting with the DOM. We are going to learn DOM after this. After loops, we are going to start introduction to DOM. Okay, so we have two types, is what is being said by Fitness Bro. See, there are a lot of loops. Okay, so I'll see how much I can cover. So for now, the basic, right, which are common in most of the programming language, we'll understand those first. So one is the for loop, second is the while loop, and third is the do while loop. So what basically a loop is? Okay, so let's understand what basically a loop is. Loop basically iterates over and over. You can say it basically repeats a set of statements again and again until you say that when it has to stop. A loop will basically just repeat the statement again and again until you give a condition that when it has to stop. That is basically what loop means. Okay, so now let's understand first the syntax of for loop. Okay, sorry guys, just give me a minute. Okay, so first is the for loop, and the syntax is very simple. Let me just write in this. The syntax is very simple. First, the keyword, right? The keyword which starts the loop, that is for. First you have to give the initializer. Okay, what is going to initialize your loop? Then you have to give the condition, right? What needs to be checked when the loop is run. And then you have to give an increment or an decrement, because if you do not give this, it will keep on, if there is no increment here and there, basically if the value does not change which is being checked in the condition, the loop will run forever. Okay, and you do not want that. And then you write the code here. Okay, code to repeat. Code to repeat until condition is satisfied, is not satisfied. Okay, so this is basically the structure of, you can say, loop, right? So now let's try to print a basic, let's try to print number 1 to 10. Okay, let's try to print number 1 to 10. Okay, Aaron, whatever you're asking, right, you cannot do right here in this session. If you want that, we can do it in a full stack program. Here I am to just teach the basics. But that is too advanced. We cannot do it in essentials. Half of the crowd will be blank. So now let's write a for loop. So for what we are going to print is, as I mentioned, print numbers, let's say 1 to 50. See, one way is I can write console.log 50 times, but that is too time taking. So what I'm going to do is I let for initialize what is the index, basically. Okay, you can say index or any variable. We usually use I. So I is 0. Okay. Second thing is the condition. I have to check if I is smaller than or equal to 50. I have to check if, because I want to print till 50, right? And then after every loop, I have to increment the I by 1. So I'll just do I plus plus, because that is what we saw, right? How to increment. Or you can just do I equal to I plus 1. That will also work. Now I just want to do is console.log and just print I. Console.log, I have to just go and print I. Now if you see, right, it is just going to print it till 50 times. Okay. This is basically, you can say, it. For loop basically prints it again and again. Now understand that you can also iterate over an array using a for loop. You can also iterate over an array using a for loop. Now let's suppose there is an array of fruits. Okay, so let fruits, and it is an array basically. Okay, so I have apple, then I have mango, then I have orange, then I have watermelon. So these are 4 elements. Now just understand that how to access the values of, let's understand that first. So if I want to access the first value of an array, arrays always start from 0. In programming, this position is called an index of an array, and it always starts from 0. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Okay. So now if I have to print apple, what I can do is I can go fruits. First, this is going to print the whole array. Okay, so what did I break? Console. Okay, console.log. Yes, console.log. Fruits. It is just going to give me these 4 things. So now I just want, you see, right, the index is 0. So what I can do is I can just give like this. I want the 0th index of array of fruits, and it is going to give me an apple. Now you know, right, how you can keep on changing this 0. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now before that, one more property which I need to teach you is the length property. So every array, or you can say every array, has a property called as length, basically which will give you the length of an array. So it is given by, it is a property, right? So you can, sorry, a method. So what I can give is fruits dot length. Okay, and you see, right, it is giving me something called as 4. It says that there are 4 elements in that array. 1, 2, 3, 4. The length is 4, but the index starts from 0. Understand, the last index of that array is always the length minus 1. The last index of the array is always length minus 1, n minus 1, right? So now we know this. Now we are going to print it using a for loop. So let's see how we can do that. So for let I equals to 0, because our index will start with 0. Now I cannot see, I can do I is less than equal to, what is the last index? That is with 3. Okay, what is the last index is 3. Okay, and then I can do I plus plus, and here I can just go and print, console dot log. Now whatever I wrote here, right, I'm just going to copy this, because that is the way of accessing the elements of array, and here I'm going to put I. Okay, now you see, right, we can access the elements of array. But what if my array keeps on increasing? What if, suppose there is one more fruit, that is pear, and now you see, right, it is not working anymore. So I have to just go again and again and keep on changing this variable. Instead of that, what I can do is, instead of accessing the indexes, I can just tell that, boss, you have to always check the length of an array. So I can just tell fruits dot length, always check this. So now no matter how many elements I keep on adding to that array, it will always print it will always keep on printing all the elements of my array. Okay, so if I just add, what are other fruits? Pineapple. Okay, now I have to just keep on adding the elements in the array, and it will always calculate it based on the length of the array. Easy? Is the for loop clear? Right? So now in this statement, right, now let's go and stop. Let's just comment this and go to our previous numbers. Okay, now let's change the problem statement. Print the elements which are, print the value which are even. Okay, you know, right, print the value which are even. So what you can do is print numbers 1 to 50 which are even. Now how do you check even? Is divided by 2. If the remainder is 0, that is even, right? So now there are 2 keywords, break and continue. Break, as you guys know, right, it just breaks out of the statement. Continue will, you can say, skip the iteration and you go to the next iteration. Okay, so now let's do one thing. Instead of let's try this. So instead of printing it directly, let's do a check. If I just want the even elements, right? So how can I check? If the remainder after dividing I by 2, if it is equal to 0, then only go and console.log I. Now you see, right, I have all the even elements. Right here. That is how you can just print the even elements. Okay, now if there is, suppose, one requirement, just a problem statement, that when you're printing till 50, if you encounter a number 20, just stop the loop. Okay, so I can just write if I equals to 20, just go and break, just stop the loop. Let's see what happens. Okay, I need to write a console, right? First I need to go and write a console.log, and okay, you see, right? As soon as it is reaching 20, it is stopping. Now let's see what happens with the statement continue. Continue will basically skip that iteration and go ahead. Continue will skip that iteration and then it will just continue again. That is basically what continue does. So now it will skip 20 and start from 19. It will just directly jump to 21. It has skipped 20. Okay, so how this works is it starts with I equals to 0. It checks if I is less than or equal to 50. Yes, it is less than or equal to 50. Then it goes to the code and just executes this, and then it increments the I by 1. Now your I is 1. Again it checks the condition, executes the code, increments it by 1. Of course you can just go and increment by 2 always. So if I just do equal to, you can say I can just make it plus equal to 2, and it should also work the same. Now it is always incrementing by 2. Okay, now it is always incrementing by 2. Depending on what increment you guys specify, it is going to behave like this. Okay, I hope the for loop is easy. Now let's go to our next loop. That is the while loop. Okay, this you can say how do you write while loop is very simple. First you write the keyword, that is while. Inside this you give the condition. It can be any condition, some condition, and then you go and write the code here. Okay, so this is basically the while loop. So whatever you write here, right, you can just go and write it here inside this while loop and it will operate the same. But understand that you cannot declare a variable that right here. You have to just because this just has one parameter, that is the condition, which the middle condition, right? You cannot declare a variable inside a while loop. So let's see an example. Similarly, like of this example, right, I'll just go and comment this out for now. We will again print the same thing. So what I will do is declare a variable a for now, just to show you that you can declare anything. Currently it is going to be 0. Okay, what I'm going to do is while my condition should be while a is less than or equal to 10, because I am going to print just numbers till 10. Less than or equal to 10, just simply do console.log. It is very easy. If you understand one loop, the other loops are very easy. Console.log of a. Okay, and it is going to basically see now what is happening. It has gone into an infinite loop, guys. Your loop has basically gone into an infinite loop. Now the reason, because a loop always needs 3 things: an initializer, a condition, and an increment and decrement, because you need to check, right? Because see, we are telling that a is equal to 10, just go and execute. We are not telling when to stop, right? That is the reason, if you see, right, my web page has basically hanged now. So what I can do is I can just give an increment here, that after every state execution, right, just go and increment the a by 1. Okay, my page is crashed, guys. See, my page is crashed. Okay, so I just need to reopen the browser, I suppose. See what happens if we don't close the loop in time. Okay, I'm just going to close this tab and I just need to stop this server. It is hanged. Okay, so I just need to restart the server, because I did not tell the loop when to stop. It went into an infinite loop. It kept on executing again and again. Okay, wow, this is amazing. Let me go to console now. Yeah, so now my web browser is back. Now you see, right, this is how you give that, this is how you basically write the while loop. Now there is one more loop which is called the do while, loop. Now it is very simple. See, the initialization is always outside in while loop, it is not inside. Now what is the difference here is basically the syntax first, right? The syntax first. It is do, and after this you have to write the state condition in this while. Okay, this is basically, you can say, code to be executed, and here you have to write the condition to be checked. This is basically the format of a do while loop. Now the difference between while and do while loop is that while loop will check the condition first, do while will run the statement first and then check the condition. So by default, if I ask the question, what is the major difference between while and do while, the answer is the do while loop will by default run at least once. Okay, do while loop will run at least once. So we'll see how that works. Okay, so for that I'm going to use the same example, right? So here we have a variable called as a, and here I have a variable called as b. Okay, here I am going to write something, numbers from 10. Now let's start with 0 again, so that you guys see the difference. And here let's write a do while loop. Do, what is the statement? We just need to console log the variable, right, and just increment the variable, and then we need to check the variable if it is greater than or equal to 10, sorry, less than or equal to 10. Okay, so now let's do this and write it here. Okay, so now you might not see the difference right here. So what I will do is let me make this 0 and it will still print 0. Let me do this. Yes, now it should be okay. Again messed up. Okay, so I'll just go and change. I guess messed up my servers. Just a minute, guys. So what I'm trying to show you basically is that if I see, what happens is it will first print the element and then it will make the changes. So let me just change the example. This is going into an infinite loop. I will just make it like this. B is smaller than 0. Okay, just go live. Yes, do while will run at least once. That is what I'm trying to show. I hope now it is not. Right, you see, right, it is not checking the condition first. So if I do the same thing here and right here, see, right, now here the element is not printed. This is of statement, you can say 59. So if I have to just give, right, so console dot log, I can just write here while loop, just for you guys to understand and see the example later. And here I'm just going to write a do while loop. Now you see, right, from where it is going to execute. See the difference. In while loop it is not being printed, but do while loop still printed it once, because it is first going to execute this statement. It is 0, then it is going to check the condition. Okay, first it is going to print and then going to check. I hope this much is clear. You cannot break out of an infinite loop. So avoid infinite loops. If you go into an infinite loop, the only way is to stop the server. Because once the loop starts, there is no way of infinite stopping. You have to just stop the server. You have to just close the process. You cannot go and intervene in an infinite loop. Okay, so is this much clear? Everyone, are the loops clear to you guys? Okay, so I see there are a few questions. So just let me know, guys, what is that you have not understood in this loops? What is that you have not understood in these loops? Loop, see, for loop, it basically takes three things, right? Initializer, condition, and increment. Of course, you can skip those. You can skip those, right? You can skip this, but make sure to not. You can skip this if you are initializing it outside, but do not remove that semicolon. See, there are times, right, when you want to do things at least once, when you want to print statements at least once, right? Suppose let's suppose the models. Okay, let's suppose that there is a website on Flipkart which says that by default you have to, anytime the web page loads, right, you have to by default show that thing at least once and then go and check the condition. That is where, like, suppose some offer which is personalized to all the users show at the first before checking whether the user is logged in or logged off, right? That's where you can use a do while loop, right? And every time a user interacts which matches that condition, it will trigger it again and again. Just a simple example. So do while basically can be used anywhere where you want the program to basically execute it at least once before going and checking the, you can say, the condition. See, project, I am still trying to see, there are a few things which we can build. We can build a Chrome extension, we can build a CRUD app, okay, and we can build a quiz application that is very easy. So I'm planning what to do, either a Chrome example or either a Chrome extension or something, but I am not able to think of what to build in Chrome extension. And Chrome extension will be a bit hard also for you guys. So I'm just thinking what to build. If not anything, we'll just build a CRUD app which can, you know, create things. You can delete, edit, and update. API, I will not be able to cover in this, you can say, essentials, because I need to teach a lot of things for that. Promises, async, await, fetch. Okay, so we'll see. I'll still see. Okay, I'll see if we can make, I just need suggestions of what we can use. Voice assistance app. Okay, let me check it tonight. I'll see how much of difficult it is. If I can explain you to, if you guys will understand the concepts inside it. If yes, then we will go with the voice assistant. Or else Chrome extension or some CRUD project is something I am planning as of now, right? So let's move on to something called as the DOM. Okay, for that, let me just open my Jamboard, because there's something which we need to refer again. So this is something which you guys were waiting for, right? So let's go and open the Jamboard which we used on the first day. So all the resources are available in the Notion link below in the description. You can just go and use it from there. Music player, I guess it was already built one time in the essentials. If you want me to do it again, we can build the music player also again. It is nothing, see, it is just on, if I show you, right, you can basically build it by yourself. It is just few clicks, whatever handles with the clicks, right? Pause, play, go to the next, basically change the index and load the music. The concept, you can basically build it very easily. So we'll see, I'll see what is the best project. I'll try to get the best project like in CSS, right? I'll see if I can get that level of project for you guys. Extension I'm trying. Now let's understand DOM. Okay, let's understand DOM. As I mentioned, right, everything you write in an HTML is you can say your website, right? Everything is an element. For example, right, if I have let's make a few tags. H1 DOM intro, right? In this I am going to have a div tag with a class, with a class of container. Those who are not understanding what I'm writing, just ignore. This is just for HTML. If you don't know HTML, go to a previous course. Herein I have a p tag with a class of para, and here I am going to write some dummy text. Okay, and I am going to have an image tag here which has no src but is going to have an id of image, or I can say brand image, just brand img. Okay, this is our basically the HTML structure right now. So everything in that this structure currently is you can say an element, an object. Okay, so everything is wrapped. So HTML is the root element. It has two children's, right? HTML is the root element. It has two children's, head and body. Head further has this many children. So head is called the parent and the elements inside it is are called the children. Okay, understand this parent and children relation very clearly, right? So now so this is basically a structure how the tree is maintained when a web page is loaded on the browser. The browser converts your web page into a tree when it reads it, right? So now everything HTML is also a part of an object called the document. Okay, so this you can say, you can put right here, and let me just go and change this from here to here. So this document basically is the parent object of this HTML. So now let's see what I'm trying to mean. Okay, so now this is currently the web page. So just go and refresh this. Okay, this is the file is not there, so let's go and create this file. Now just see what is happening. If I go and write document, you see, right, the whole of the white area which is the document, which is the web page, is selected. Okay, this is the document. So I can access, if I just click, if I just print it here, right, you see, right, I guess I get access to the whole of my web page. I get access to the whole of my web page, right? The head, the body, whatever is there, I can access it, right? So if I just want to, suppose if I just want to print whatever is in their head, I can just write document.head, and all the tags here, right, will be returned, whatever is written in my code, right? This particular part is written to me right here. Now the document is also a further child of something called as the window object, right? So window basically means the whole browser window. Okay, so I can basically go and get the title of, let me just, I guess the title is the element, no, window dot navigator dot. So see, I can basically get access to everything. Navigator means the browser which I'm currently using, right? I can get all the accesses here. I can change the browser. I can basically go and change the URL also. Let me just try that. I tried it very long ago. I don't know if it is going to navigator.href. Nah, window.href. Nah, there is some property where you can go and change basically this URL directly. I'm just trying to see that. Currently I'm not able to find that property, but window is a greater object. Window has a lot of, you can say, see, I can just go window dot inner height, and this is currently the height of my page, Okay, and if for example, let me do inner width, so you will understand inner width. Now if I go and move this, right, you see, right, the width currently now on the top right here, right, just watch here, the width is 961.45. So now it is 961, which is basically rounded off. Okay, so now using the document, right, using the document, I can access all the elements in my HTML page. Using JavaScript, I can access all the elements in my HTML page. So what all things which I can do here is I can read the elements, I can style the elements, I can add new elements, I can delete the elements, I can update the elements. Okay, I can do all the actions. So I can also give CSS to my elements using JavaScript. So everything that is on my HTML page, I can change using JavaScript. But before that, we need to understand that, boss, if I need to go and I need to go and access those elements, what is the way, right? So we knew that by default the object which is there, right, is called the document. The object that is there is called a document. And you might see two new things which I have used, that classes and ID. So for this, consider an example of your school. Consider the example of your school where a class has many students, but a ID is given to every single student. So ID is very unique to a particular student, whereas a class can contain multiple students. So multiple students can have the same class. ID can be given to a single student. Okay, so classes, where you want to specifically give CSS to multiple elements, you can use class. Where you want to give some unique things to a particular element, you can use ID, right? For more detail in this, visit my CSS lecture, or you can just Google out the difference between ID and class and you will understand. Okay, so now let's go and see how we can get the elements using the JavaScript. Okay, so now let's focus here. So I guess we will stop by just fetching the elements today, and tomorrow we'll continue, right? So now we all know, right, the name of the property, the parent object of the HTML is document. So I'll write document dot get element by ID. This is one way, because if I want to get a specific element. The second way is document dot get element by tag name. So what is a tag name? Here you see, right, div, h1, p, img, those are tag names. One more thing which we have is get elements by document dot get elements by class name. Okay, so now let me go and comment this out, because there is one thing which you guys need to understand. This will return a single element, because by default, right, it means if you read right here, it is get element and not elements. It is not element, it will return a single element. This is going to return something called as an HTML collection, an array of the tags or whatever things you call, right? And this will also return the same thing, because here there are many things, there can be many tags, right? So let me just build same tags. So if I have two paragraph tags, and instead of this I'll just write first para, just so that we know that we have two paragraphs. And here after the image I'll write second para, right? So now our browser looks something like this, first para and second para. So now let's go and in our JS file, let's start with document.getElementById. Currently I'm just going to console.logs quickly so that you understand. Console.log, what I want to fetch, document.getElementById. Inside this I need to specify the ID. So which of this has my ID is the brand image. So I'll just go and specify right here in quotes, and it is going to return me the element which has that ID. right? So currently I have learned to get my HTML element using JavaScript. Okay, I have learned to get HTML element using JavaScript. Query selector, yes, we will see there are few more things that comes in under the node list. That is why I have not written here query selector. Okay, just let me write here document dot query selector. I'll teach you that also. It is very easy. This gives you node list. So today's homework, right? You have to research what is the difference between node list and a HTML collection. Okay, so see, we have something called as an ID. So now let's go console.log, and in this I can just go document.get elements by tag name. So what is the tag? We have multiple tags, is a p tag. So now see, it will return me a collection where I have two para tags. Okay, this is the first tag and this is the second tag. Again, the length property of the array, right? That is, there are two elements. Now if I want the first element only, I can just give like this, and it will just return me the first element. This you have learned, right? How to access the index of an array. This is basically that. Now similarly with the class name, console.log and document.get elements by class name, and let me just give it to some different thing. Container. Let me also put this into a container. Okay, and just put this here. So now let me just go and give a class of container, and now this also has given me an HTML collection. Okay, so now we can access all the properties here. We can give text, we can give CSS, all those things which we will see tomorrow, right? So now let me also teach you this query selector. What this query selector does, instead of writing this class name, tag name, ID name by ID, we can directly use a query selector. So what I can do is console.log document.query selector, and in this I have to pass what I am trying to search. So for those who are new, right? For those who are new, to access classes we use dot. Okay, this is for class. Those who have attended the CSS and HTML, they know. And for ID we use something called as a hash. This is for ID. And tag you can directly give. So suppose I have to access the same image like this. So suppose I have to access the brand image, I have to give, because it's an ID, I have to write it like this. Okay, and it is going to access the same things. Where is my code? Okay, you see, right? It is giving me the same thing. Where is the, okay. Okay, it is giving me the same thing. It is giving me the same image tag with the ID of brand, right? So now where does the change come? Okay, where does the change come? Now instead of query selector this, right? Let me just copy this again and let me try getting a class. There is one property of query selector, that query selector will always return the first element. Even if your, let's say, even if your element, the tag is multiple, it will always return me the first element. You see, right? It is always going to return me the first element. Nothing else. It is always going to return me the first element. And it is giving, see, the length is 1. It is always going to return me the first element, nothing else. If I just hover over it, let me just go and check. Document.query selector, the p tag, it will always return me the first element. Even if I have multiple tags, it will always really give me the first element. Now let's try to give it a class of container. Now by default it should give me 2, right? Because I have 2 container classes. It has only given me a single thing. It has only given me a single thing on line number 22, that is the first container. Okay, I cannot access the second container in this. I cannot access the second container in this. I hope this is clear. I cannot access the second container. I can only access the first container. We are using, right? P is not a class. P is a tag. If I had to use like this, see, this is a class. Okay, I hope this is clear. How to fetch elements basically. And there is one more thing which you should not ever which you should not ever do. I'll just teach you it still. A function of when you want to rewrite everything on your web page. Okay, there is one thing, because see, there is something called as document, with this is our whole object, right? There is one method in this called write, which basically will write everything you have written on the web page and just replace it with this. Let me just go in here, console, and just write this. You saw, right? It will basically just go and overwrite everything you have written. Suppose you have created a web page using everything, very nice frameworks, all those things, and if I just go and execute document.write, it will just go and overwrite everything. Write basically means overwriting what you have done. So this is something we'll never use. Just for you guys to understand, I have just shown it. This is something we will never use. Okay. See, in a website, HTML, CSS and JS, everything is used. Right? So tomorrow, guys, tomorrow's agenda would be how to change the content in HTML, content using in the DOM. Basically how to change your HTML elements in terms of content, how to give CSS, how to we will create something called as how to interact on events. Okay, like suppose you want, if you click on a button, what happens? If you start typing in a form and you want to print that search, how to implement the search functionality, right? Those things we are going to see tomorrow. So tomorrow is the also time we'll start building on our project, right? Tomorrow be on time. This is just the basics of DOM. This is not everything in DOM. Tomorrow we will start building the project also, and first before that we will understand DOM in better way, how to put CSS, how to add elements, how to delete elements. Okay, how basically you can create an element in JavaScript and then push that into HTML. All of things is for tomorrow. See, query selector is not known as node list. Query selector returns a node list. Okay, returns a node list. Now this is the homework for you guys to just go and research the difference between the node list and HTML collection. I'll give you one difference, that is you can access HTML collections using index, tags and IDs. You can access node list only using index. Okay, so with that, we will end today's session. I'll revise DOM again tomorrow for you guys who have not understood today. Okay, because I need to rush home. I have one more session at 9 which I need to take, right? So I'll see you guys tomorrow 6:30, right? And if you guys are okay, can we start tomorrow at 6? Just let me know if we can start tomorrow at 6 p.m. so that I get time to explain you DOM. Like we have a little time left. Can we guys start tomorrow at 6 p.m. guys? Let me know quickly, very quickly. Okay, so tomorrow we'll start at 6. Everyone, tomorrow be there at 6 p.m. Okay, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let me just quickly go and push this code. Okay, so the code should be now visible to you guys. Okay, so because 6 p.m. we get a little time to extra, so I don't have to rush so much. Okay, so tomorrow 6 p.m. I'll see you guys same place, so be on time, and till then we can just stop the sessions and I'll let the music play for a bit and then we can end. Bye bye, see you tomorrow. Practice everything for those who have joined today. The link is there in the description, right, in the essential resources. Just go. Okay, bye bye.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways.